must follow the law. The law says...
Glorious. Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law with attorney Larry Foreman. Folks, today we're going to be doing something unique. We're going to be covering all 4 jurors, analyzing them, discussing them, figuring out why they said what they said, why they thought what they thought, things we probably already know. I know you guys have seen them, but have you seen them all together? I bet you have not. Here it is in one video, every single one of the 4 jurors who spoke out. Jason, Paula, the 4-person, and anonymous juror. Let's go one by one. Starting with Jason, juror number 4, who came out first after the verdict was announced to TMZ. Let's go.
Jason, the jury found Karen Reed not guilty on murder and manslaughter. Was it because they had reasonable doubt or because they thought she was innocent?
So I think for the jurors, there's a mix of some people think that she was definitely innocent, and the other people, there was a lot of reasonable doubt, at least to where we didn't want to convict her.
There's a lot of reasonable doubt to show that she is innocent, and we didn't want to convict her. I mean, there you have it. Jason, you will see Jason was a little bit nervous. He was a little bit camera shy, but yet he volunteered to do this interview, and we're thankful for it.
Really interesting. So could you give me a breakdown there? Roughly what percentage of the jury felt she was innocent?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. I think that she was innocent. It's hard to tell exactly what people think deep down. There was a lot of things thrown at us, of evidence. So it's hard to tell what truly.
So you say in your head she was innocent. Does that mean you think she was framed by people inside that house?
It's a great question.
It doesn't necessarily mean that. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to John. Really, I was only presented a limited scope of what happened at the night, and I could only base my opinion off of the evidence that was shown in the courtroom. So I don't really know if there was a cover-up or not. I know that's the big conspiracy about it, but I don't really know. All I know is that there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
There were a lot of holes in the investigation, and Karen Reed didn't do it. They framed an innocent woman. I can't say it was a framing, but I can tell you Karen Reed is innocent. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Whether they were deliberate holes or not deliberate holes, it's kind of hard from me sitting back to know that, what actually happened.
Exactly.
So
it's not my job. Remember, Paula said the same thing. It was not our job. Same thing with the foreman. You'll hear it in a minute. It was not our job to figure out who did it. We just knew Karen wasn't it.
Feeling of the jury, because Alan Jackson and the other lawyers raised the issue that she was framed by cops and that they would have turned that house upside down if they really wanted to do an honest investigation, and that he was not hit by a car. He was attacked in that house, bitten by a dog, and then put outside to frame her. Did people on the jury, or some of them, buy that argument?
I think some of them bought that argument. It's just hard to tell, though, because whether or not we think that there was malicious intent, we were only presented with the facts that they didn't go into the house. So
exactly,
there's an example of reasonable doubt. So there's other examples of reasonable doubt. So even if you want to completely buy into the theory or not, that wasn't what we were tasked with. We were tasked with finding, convicting, or, deciding on this person's fate based on the proof and the evidence that the Commonwealth was able to present. And, there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
Notice how he keeps saying there was a lot of holes in the investigation. There were a lot of holes in the government's case, things that we've been talking about for months, for years now. Now you have the deliberating jury, a deliberating juror who acquitted Karen Reed, saying the exact same thing we've been saying for years. You can't change the facts, folks. You can't change them. No matter how hard Brennan and Lally may try, by putting on Guarino, the likes of Guarino and Tully and Higgins. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Or Welcher. Oh, God. Welcher, Burgess, all of them. The lot of them.
Many steps beyond that, because you say, in your view, she was innocent. What compels you to think that?
One thing that I think that compels me is we did a lot of review of the tapes. And it seemed to me that the videos that we could see from the car after the alleged incident happened, that when we could see the taillight, it was lit up red where it shouldn't just have been red.
And I think that has been thematic across all jurors, because Paula talked about this. I am not sure if the jury foreman talked about it or not, juror number 1, but definitely juror 4 and 11, Paula and Jason, the one we're listening to right now, both said, we looked at the tape, the light is red. How could it be red if it's shattered? That's not possible. Somebody meddled with it. Well, reasonable doubt. Beautiful. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel.
So that leaves to me a conclusion of, well, how come it's red in this video after the alleged, collision happened, and then it's, it's not, it doesn't have any red pieces where it should be red.
Keep it simple, stupid. Remember, with people, keep it simple, stupid is going to be a lot easier than trying to bring in science and physics and all that. Unless you have like a doctor or a nurse on the jury, they will figure it out very quickly and explain it to everybody else. But you can't rely on that. And especially if you don't have a nurse or a doctor on your jury in a case like this, you have to keep it simple, stupid. Red light, present, not present. Squared away, you can't. Reasonable doubt, not guilty. End of story.
In other words, you do not believe that SUV made contact with John O'Keefe.
I don't believe that the SUV collided with John O'Keefe.
What was the initial vote
That's huge.
with the jury when you first took your vote?
We didn't do an initial straw poll. The judge recommended to us in the courtroom that is not a good way to do it. We broke down, what we did is we broke down each charge, and we went from top to bottom and discussed everything thoroughly, and, did our best to do right by, the Karen Reed and the Commonwealth.
Was there a division initially?
Yeah, there was a division, but that's what we're there to deliberate and talk about all the evidence. There was 2 months of us sitting there, them throwing all this information at us absorbing the information, going home, thinking about it, reviewing it in our heads, and we get to the deliberations, and now we have an opportunity to discuss. Some people went into the deliberations and they were still unsure after two months, and that makes sense because there was a lot of things going on. There's a lot of information. How much can you weigh one thing or another thing over,
Yeah. What about jurors who felt initially she was guilty? Were there any of them?
Yeah, there are a few jurors that think that had thought that initially.
I would love to hear more about that. Who thought initially she was guilty? I mean, that seems... So why would they flip? Why would they change their mind? Unless they weren't convinced and they just kind of thought, well, the government wouldn't accuse someone who was innocent, would they? Would they? No, seriously, would they? Oh, they did, huh? I'd like to change my vote. Not guilty, please.
When they went into the deliberations, that was their standpoint, and that's what we were there to do, to talk through all that and bring up every single piece of evidence. Is there an angle of reasonable doubt to where we're not really sure? Like, are you really sure? Yeah. Are you 100% or are you 99.9%?
That's
if you're that
huge.
99%, we can't convict you.
Wow. Listen to those words. If you're 99%, then that's a not guilty. You have to be 100. That is a really good juror. I wish all jurors were like this, because I have had juries myself, and I can attest to this, where they go, well, we weren't really sure, so we just erred on the side of caution and convicted anyway. I'm like, were you listening to anything that I've been telling you? No, we just wanted to convict to err on the side of caution. I'm like, I want more jury. This is usually in rural areas where people trust the government like completely, and they're like, they would have never charged your client unless he did something. So we're just like, okay, guilty, no jail time. And I'm like, whatever. It is what it is.
What brought the ones who felt she was guilty over to the not guilty side?
Great question.
Was there anything in particular that seemed to resonate with them?
It's hard to tell from my position. You'd have to ask them about it. But in my opinion, I think it was just due to the poor investigation. There's just too many holes. And, it's hard to prove that the collision happened. So if there's reasonable doubt that happened, or that there may have been foul play, if there's room for that, then it's hard to come to a guilty verdict.
What happened when the jury initially said they had a verdict and then said, oops, no, we don't, and then 15 minutes later they said, we do?
I love this
What
part.
happened there?
That actually is kind of interesting. So the envelope, it was sealed and it's locked away. It'll never be looked at. But on everything on that initial slip was the same
Yeah.
as the slip that was presented.
And Paula confirmed this, and we'll probably maybe hear it in this one. I did interview Paula myself in a separate video. Juror number 11, her name is Paula.
I sometimes felt like I think we are just dumb people. I just want to really clarify that I'm not speaking out because I'm making money.
Did I pay you for this interview?
I did miss the Alberts and Higgins, they should be called. Just to clarify, we are not required to never heard about the case and know about the case. Some of us knew that there was a trial before, that Michael Proctor were fired.
How did you feel about Judge Bev? And feel free to speak freely or feel free to say nothing at all. I will accept both answers.
Judge Canoni.
So go check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. It's on my channel. Just a few days ago, about a week ago, I think I publicized it. And it's good. It's really, really good. You get to hear Paula in her own words. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But yeah, she also confirmed that both envelopes say the exact same thing.
But why did they pull it back?
The pulling the back was for the OUI charge. There was
driving under the influence, essentially. Drunk driving.
Yes, driving under the influence. We in our deliberations, we had decided there was enough evidence and proof that she was driving under the influence. And
So how did the defense do? How did the lawyers do, in your view, her lawyers?
For her lawyers specifically, I think they all did. I think that all the lawyers on both sides did a really good job. They presented their case as well.
The police, you say the investigation was poor. The defense said it was more than poor. It was corrupt, and they pointed to the lead detective who had been fired, didn't testify in your trial. Did that have an impact? And did you think it was a corrupt police investigation?
Question.
Do I think it was a corrupt police investigation? I don't know. There's no way for me to know.
He's scared to answer, or he truly doesn't know. I believe him.
I wasn't there. There was holes in the case that left for reasonable doubt. I think they could have checked some boxes or done some things differently. But do I know that they were corrupt? Absolutely not. I don't know that there was any corruption going on. But do I know that there wasn't enough proof or evidence secured by the police to convict Karen Reed? Absolutely not. There was not.
Fair to say that your view was that her SUV did not make contact with O'Keefe, therefore she did not kill him, but you don't know how he died.
I would say that's fair to say. I don't know how John O'Keefe died, and I do not believe that there was a collision between the SUV and John O'Keefe.
Did all of the hoopla around the case, the people outside, did it give you comfort in reaching a verdict like this, that you saw there was a community behind your point of view, or was it irrelevant?
Honestly, that made the pressure a lot harder, and it did not give me comfort. It made it a lot harder to block out everything and come to a decision.
That's interesting.
Why did it make it harder?
It made it harder because all of the eyes are on us. We were told we're the most important people in the courtroom, and they keep us away from the crowds of people in the front of the courthouse, but we do see them, and I don't think that having all those people swayed me to go either way. We were only tasked with looking at the evidence. We were 12 jurors. We had to back up how we felt for our decision. And
this is very important what he's saying. He's saying that it didn't make our job easier seeing all those people because there's clearly a lot of support. They probably didn't know for which side. They probably would have guessed. But the fact that he's like, no, we were tasked with a job. We were supposed to look at the evidence and the evidence alone and make a determination that is commensurate with what we have seen, heard inside the courtroom. He's not letting outside people influence him in any way. Paula said the same thing.
At any outside factors, her punishment, we couldn't factor any of that. We had to look at the evidence that was presented to us, absorb it, really understand it, and see if there's any reasonable doubt. And there was.
That was Jason, juror number 4. Now this is Paula. She was next in line, juror number 11. Have you or someone you love been injured as a result of someone else's negligence? Or worse, lost a loved one because of it? I am attorney Larry Foreman, and myself and my team of trial lawyers are ready to help you to get the absolute maximum compensation permissible under the law. We know the system. We understand how to win. Anywhere in the United States, 24 hours a day. 1-844-774-HURT. Call us. we can help.
It was a very intense week. We are at first for me, I thought Karen Reed was actually maybe guilty of manslaughter in the beginning, but as the weeks
beginning.
passed by, I just realized there was too many holes that we couldn't fill, and there's nothing that put her on the scene, in our opinion, besides just drop John O'Keefe off. And the taillight, the injuries on his arm didn't make much sense that come from the taillight for us. This ARCA from the defense that made clear. They did a very good job, like showing us, explaining all the technicalities.
So ARCA provided them with the technicalities that they were missing. They finally got a chance to look, what happens when taillight and body make contact? Thank you, Wolf and Rentschler. Amazing, amazing. I have an entire dissection of Wolf on my channel, not once, but twice, because they're so good, and I was there for it. So actually talk about, and this is the juror that we locked eyes during the testimony. She said in the front, she was the third from my left, or if you're on the jury, from the front right. And there was a moment on, I think it was June 6th, whatever that Friday was that I was in the courtroom, that I was listening to testimony, and I was just, Brendan was cross-examining, and I was just like, what was that? And I'm scanning the jury, and I see Paula has the same look on her face. Back then, obviously, I didn't know her name, but Paula has the same, like, what the hell? And we both just kind of like, ah! And I panicked, and I looked away real quick, because I was like, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't expecting that to happen. It was really great. It was really great.
Technicalities
She's a good person.
of everything, and yeah, we couldn't prove there was a collision and she was responsible for John's death.
And like I said, I've interviewed her, and her interview is on my channel. Maybe I'll include it in the description below as well, so you guys don't miss out on it.
Convinced she wasn't responsible for his death?
I am convinced. I'm 100% convinced.
100% convinced.
I really
Wow.
don't think she was responsible for
Amazing.
his death. I think she dropped him off. If she back up fast enough to maybe touch him, maybe, but that was not the reason why he fell his back in a way that the way the cut was, the injury was, and the fracture was. I don't think that was from the car, because otherwise we would see much more injuries over his body.
So what do you think happened to him?
And the car.
It's a theory, like conspiracy theory type of thing, because I think she maybe back up and touch him somehow. Maybe
Really?
he lost his shoes in this movement and got upset, like, and then she left. And so either he got out of her way or something, and maybe he lost his shoes in this process. But he, in my opinion, he definitely went inside, and something happened inside the house.
Paula, you were getting emotional. What was going through your heart and mind after making that, tremendous decision?
Yeah, so I was happy for Karen Reed and her family. Of course, I think justice was served, but see John O'Keefe's family leaving the courthouse was melt my heart. I'm a mother, and I saw her
She's got
pain
4 kids.
all those days, and I just want to tell them it's not our fault that Karen Reed is not convicted, even if there's any chance she's guilty of something, of hurt him somehow. The Commonwealth and the investigators didn't do their jobs to prove that to us.
She feels bad for the family, but the family needs to go after the real killers. That's not Paula's job. Again, it kind of falls back into this whole, look, you tasked us with this. We want justice for your deceased son, but you got the wrong person. Go after the right people, and then we'll convict them happily. And obviously, it won't be these jurors. It'll be some other jurors, but we're all looking forward to that. Justice for John O'Keefe. We keep saying it over and over.
We couldn't charge her with anything.
Convict
And
her
I
in
really,
chains.
really hope there is a way for the case to be reopened, and they can investigate again and find who actually did that to John.
But
Was
you
it
were emotional at the end.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It was because I was sad for the family, because I feel like great for Karen Reed, but horrible for the family. He
Yeah.
seemed to be a very nice guy, the story with his nephews
Yeah.
and niece, and was alive. So I feel bad for them, and I really want them to get justice for John O'Keefe for real.
Yeah.
Was it
You
a
and
poor
us both.
investigation?
In my opinion, yes. Too many flaws, too many holes that we couldn't fill in. No reports, so many things, videos with glitch. Felt a little not correct, not precise. I mean, they are police officers. They know what to do in
Yeah.
investigation. And
Yeah.
with too many pieces were missing.
Oh,
you said you
too
were
many
first.
pieces were missing. Too many pieces of evidence were missing. Too many things were omitted by the police. And then Proctor had the audacity. If you watched the interview that I premiered yesterday when I'm analyzing Proctor's 2020 interview, or just the important pieces, obviously we didn't go through the whole thing. We only did like 5 minutes of it, which is all the tachlis of the entire thing, the meat, if you will. Proctor dares to say that he wouldn't have changed a single thing about the investigation. Here is an absolute layperson slash, attorney in Brazil, but in this case, kind of like a layperson with a legal mind saying, hello, there's a bunch of stuff that you didn't do. And Proctor has the audacity to say, oh, no, everything was done. I wouldn't have changed a single thing about this. What? Investigation. You idiot.
Thinking manslaughter in the beginning. What changed your mind to not guilty?
It's a good question.
The process, as they show us that things don't connect to each other, the injuries don't connect with the tail light.
Yep.
The lynch on the video of the sailport.
Yep.
The missing part of the video of the ring light in
Oh.
John O'Keefe's house
Huge.
was too many coincidences to be straight her fault.
So the first trial, the jurors were deadlocked. They couldn't come up with a decision. Were you surprised that they brought this case again for a second time? That they prosecuted her for a second time?
No, not surprised, because I have a law background from Brazil. I studied law. I worked a little bit as an attorney before I moved here, so I understand a little bit the system. I'm not surprised she was charged again, and we definitely didn't want to hang this jury.
We definitely did not want to hang this jury. Oh, that's a statement. They wanted to give her a verdict. I wonder why. Let's hear it.
Positive that we're going to discuss everything as much as we can, because we don't want to. The amount of money spent on this trial made me very upset, and I'm sure made my fellow jurors upset too.
Do you think
Whoa, the jurors were upset as taxpayers about how much money has been spent prosecuting this innocent woman. Think about that statement right there. Paula has just given away the farm. Oh my God. I had no idea she said this. This is amazing. Folks, this is the real justice system at work. They looked at the evidence, they looked at the facts, they're like, this is an innocent woman. We are leaning towards acquitting. Well, we think she drank and drove, but we have to make a decision. We cannot allow the state to keep spending money prosecuting this woman. We know that the first jury could not reach a decision. We just don't know how and all it happened, because obviously we are not allowed to look at the evidence of previous trials. We're not allowed to look at the evidence of previous testimony. We can't do research. We only are confined to what's happening in the courtroom right now. And the fact that they were still like, look, we have to reach a decision. We have to make a choice. We have to kill this case here and now. No trial number 3. End of story. That's huge. The fact that the jurors are actually taking into consideration an element of the fact of how much this has been costing taxpayers. I don't think I have ever in my entire career heard a jury speak like that. A juror on a jury speak like that. It was so expensive. We had to end it here and now, because this is an innocent woman. That's amazing. That is incredible. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel.
Framed?
Hard to say.
Yeah, they can't say.
I didn't have a chance to look into the investigation outside the courtroom and everything that was said in the last trial.
She has by now.
Less than 24 hours since I started looking into those things. So I can't say she was framed, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you find it strange you didn't hear from the lead investigator, Michael Proctor?
No, I didn't find it strange not hear from him, but I found strange not hear from Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, because the owner for the house and the person who exchanged text messages with Karen Reid a few days before John O'Keefe's death. So I think was weird not hear from them.
I find it fascinating that the lead investigator, the one that orchestrated the entire thing, not hearing from him is fine. Maybe because they had Buchanan to kind of fill in the gaps. Maybe. I don't know. And that other guy who read the text messages. But the fact that they're like the owner of the house and the one who exchanged texts with Karen, those two didn't come. And she said the same thing in my interview with her. That's what she found surprising. That's interesting. That is really, really, really interesting.
Do you find it weird that the DA hasn't said anything at all about the case or the verdict? I mean, all he said was the jury has spoken, which you guys did, but nothing else.
I was surprised that they wanted the sentencing right away. I'm not sure if they're gonna appeal, what's gonna happen. And again, I didn't have time to see what happened today through the day because I was out with my family. But I don't know, maybe they're just gonna give up and reopen the investigation.
At the beginning of deliberations, did some people think she was guilty?
At the beginning of deliberation. I don't know. We decided not to vote, not to say what we really think, and instead go through witnesses and the videos and the paper, the clothes and everything. So I'm not sure what they thought.
Jason, we just heard say there were some people who thought. So I wonder why the discrepancy. I wonder if there's like something that maybe Jason missed or Paula missed. I don't know. I don't know.
But when we got an agreement of what charges we would eliminate it one by one, and then we got to the verdict.
Was it hard to focus, or with the pressure of the big crowds outside every day chanting? Like, how much pressure was that for you guys?
I didn't see people outside until, I think Monday, because the way the bus brings us to the back of the courthouse, only if you look to your right and you see maybe some pink shirts or something, but I didn't know it was that big crowd like yesterday. And we couldn't hear anything. They covered the room so we couldn't see through the window. And through the whole process, I didn't hear anything inside the courtroom. None of us did.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like this wasn't that difficult for you guys to reach consensus here. Was it difficult to reach this decision or not really?
Well, I can speak for myself. For me, it wasn't. For me, I had my opinion formed before we get in there. So we, some people might thought differently, so we had some discussions, of course, but I can't talk for other people.
Sure.
But it doesn't sound like it was very heated, and were people fighting, or was it?
Yeah. No, there wasn't fight. We are a respectful group of people. We got along very well.
Nice.
And we listened to each other's opinion. I can't say much what happened inside the deliberation room. The judge told us not to talk about it. But of course, there were discussions of our opinions and the proofs, and let's look into this, look into that, until we got to a consensus. But nothing heated, no.
That's really interesting, because remember, in the first trial, because there was no lesser included of OUI, the jury had a very immense difficult time with charge number 2, because they're like, I remember talking about this before the defense split number 5, a lesser included OUI under charge number 2, manslaughter, while operating a motor vehicle under the influence. See, the problem with that charge is exactly what happened with jury number 1, I'm convinced. They did not want to acquit across the board. They thought Karen must have done something. The defense, in a brilliant strategic move, gave them a bone. We're like, look, you want to convict her of something? Convict her of DUI. Nobody cares. OUI, DUI, DWI, whatever you call it in your state. OUII. There's many different acronyms. It's all the same thing. Driving under influence of intoxicants. Okay? That's all it is. Jury number 1, the reason they were split is because that operating a motor vehicle under the influence was getting to them. They couldn't, I want to convict or quit. I don't know what to do. And that's why they were torn. This jury's job was simplified by virtue of them ripping the DUI out of there and saying, here you go. And the jurors are just like, okay, can we all agree that's all she did? That's like 100% guaranteed. Everything else, there's absolutely not enough evidence for it. Everybody agree? And after 3.5 days of deliberation, bam, agreed. Let's go. There you have it. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The videos that were played of her saying, well, maybe I might have clipped him, her almost admitting that, well, maybe something happened.
Yeah, that's where I take my theory from. Since she woke up thinking, oh, maybe I hit him. So this idea comes from somewhere in her mind, right? So maybe when she back up, she hit something, the curb or him or something. I don't know. But definitely his injuries are not consistent with the tail light damage. We do not believe the tail light, the way that was presented in the Sally port on that day, it's not the same way that we saw in the videos of the car coming out of the meadows in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't think the car killed John O'Keefe, no.
I do not think that the car killed John O'Keefe, so there was no collision. that means he went inside the house. That's it.
While did you start to think she was innocent?
Maybe like 3 weeks ago, after, when they had the police lab bringing DNA, they found a little trace of DNA here and there, but they also found 2 males' DNA here and there. So maybe there was more people involved on that. So that's when I start shifting my mind to completely not guilty of killing him at all.
And remember, Alan Jackson said that in opening, and it probably somehow rang a bell in her head, like, oh yeah, the DNA of 5 men.
The OEY was the only thing we can't deny, because she said on the video she was drinking, and there are videos of her drinking, counting of her drinking. So
who cares?
We couldn't let that pass.
Sure.
Anything else, Paula? Like, what's your message, or what's the lesson that you learned in this process?
Justice for John O'Keefe.
Well, my first time being a juror was an incredible experience, really. I really enjoyed being there. It wasn't a burden at all. The deliberation part for me was a little overwhelmed because of the pressure of have someone's life in your hand.
Not easy.
But the crowd outside or influence from outside, none of this came to me. So I was clear my mind, just focus on her.
By the way, quick tip, if you ever want to get off a jury and you don't want to serve for whatever reason, let's say you were working and sometimes they won't let you off just because you have a job or whatever, because everybody's got a job. Just say, only God can judge. I can never sit in judgment of someone. Only God can judge. Believe me, you'll be out of there very fast.
And the case and the evidences we have. But for me, it was a great experience, and I'm happy that I feel good about what we did. I'm confident that she's innocent. And I really, really hope the pressure that they had in this case now is transferred to John O'Keefe family, and justice for him, like new investigation, whatever needs to be done.
There it is. Justice for John O'Keefe. I love that she ended it on that note as well. I mean, that's just brilliant. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is the 4-person. So we heard from Jason, juror number 4. We heard from Paula, juror number 11. And now we're going to hear from the 4-person, juror number 1. Let's go.
Can you just take us into this jury room and how the jury came to the conclusion it did?
Collectively together, we looked at all the evidence that we was presented with, and we made our decision off of that. We didn't, at first, some had their own personal opinions on what the case should be or whatever.
Personal
and
opinions.
Was trying to go down like a personal feelings and stuff like that. And
oh, that's horrible.
We had to stick to what evidence we had in front of us,
right,
and go with that. So it was
okay. That's interesting. So at first, some jurors were ignoring the evidence. This is very common, folks, by the way. I've had jurors, it's called a runaway jury or jury nullification, when they just vote based on feeling instead of evidence. It's very common. It is scarily common. I'm glad that Foreman was able to bring them and rile them all back. Let's see how he does it.
Just trying to figure out that part. And it took us a couple of days to really get the gears going, but when we did, it was smooth trails after that.
Sir, to that point, the evidence, was there a singular piece of evidence that seemed to move the majority of the jurors in the room, or were there multiple pieces?
It was the whole case altogether, all the pieces, testimony, witnesses, and it just a lot together. And people had questions. We used the evidence to answer their questions, and we didn't try to go down these rabbit holes where we're just getting lost in what all these other things that was thrown at us in court or whatever, and we just had to lock down and figure it out through the evidence.
Sir, I asked one of your other fellow jurors this question. There's a very fine distinction. In your opinion, is Karen Reed innocent? She didn't do this? Or is it just that the prosecutors did not put on enough evidence to convict?
Basically, the question is this like OJ and Casey Anthony, or is this different?
Karen Reed is innocent.
Karen Reed is innocent. So she is not like OJ. She is not like Casey Anthony. She is factually innocent. We keep hearing it over and over. Jason, Paula, Foreman, all of them are saying the exact same thing. She is innocent. So when I loved seeing these memes who are just like, they have like OJ, Casey Anthony, Karen Reed, like their 3 faces. One of these things doesn't belong, and that's Karen.
She didn't do this crime.
right there.
No one could prove that she did this crime, so I looked at her from day one as an innocent woman.
Day
that
one.
needed to be proven guilty, and I don't think any of that was shown in this process.
So he was different from Paula, because Paula at first was like, oh, she might be guilty of manslaughter. She's got this arrogant, cocky behavior. But then, as she told us in my interview, not in the one that we watched, the foreman came in from day one saying, innocent woman. That's fascinating until proven guilty, and they never proved it.
To that point,
wow.
if she didn't do it, who did?
It's not our job.
That's not my job.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's something did happen to Mr. O'Keefe, and it's foul play or whatever you want to say, but there was no evidence to even through multiple witnesses and testimony by his autopsy and everything. There was still no one said to solid evidence that there was a collision or he got hit by a car.
So you don't think she actually hit him with
everybody?
You don't think she hit him with the car at all?
No, I don't. Not with the evidence that was put in front of me and what we heard over everything. No, I don't.
Were you aware of just how high profile this case was? You know, there were throngs of people outside in front of the courthouse. I know the jury officers, you know, kept you away from that, but there was a big scream at the end when the verdict was read that was audible in the courtroom. How much did you know about that, and how much, if anything, did that have to do with your process, your deliberations?
I was just going to go with whatever evidence showed us. If it was finding her guilty or finding her not guilty, and we were just going to go with the evidence. And at the end of the day, when I came in on Monday, I established to everyone, I just want everyone to feel like they're heard 100%, their thoughts, their process is being heard also in that process. And everyone felt at the end of the deliberations that everyone felt good about the decision that we all collectively came together
Nice. I really like him. He's very like, listen, I'm going to be leading the pack here. Everyone's going to have a voice. Everyone's going to have a chance to speak. And then by the end, he achieved it. Everybody happy. Everybody got a chance to speak. Everybody got it. Okay, cool. All right. We ready to announce our verdict? Let's go. You know, like, wow. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. That is amazing. That is absolutely incredible.
In the end, there is still a mother who lost her son, Officer O'Keefe. What do you think justice would look like for the O'Keefe family?
Someone looking into it further, but looking into it further with the evidence that you already have, and then you finally find a possible person, there's going to be the same complications and everything else to go along with it. So it's just hard. And to put a mother through that, and a father and a brother and a whole family through that again it's a lot. Even me being there for 8 weeks and 9, and just sitting and watching the videos and seeing the tape and everything, it's a lot to see your loved one go through that. So
yes.
That's a lot for the jurors as well. It's a community service that people as citizens are asked to do, and as a foreman in particular, no one gives you a manual and tells you how to deliberate. So thank you for your service. Thank you for being here, Mr. Foreman. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for real. Thanks so much, man. Thank you for doing it and being there. I remember at some other point, he also mentioned in another interview, not in this one, I guess, said if it had been my house that the body was found in front of, my house would have been raided. Absolutely raided. 100%. The most recent juror that has spoken out on this case is an anonymous juror. She doesn't even want to show her face. This is what she had to say.
Everybody in that room was very smart and very committed to telling their story.
Not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman. This jury member in the Karen Reed retrial says she'll never forget this sound. The crowd outside the courthouse in Dedham last Wednesday erupting after the verdict. Reed found not guilty of murder.
It was overwhelming. There was so much grief and so much joy in that moment, and you really felt the weight of everything that we had done that day.
The juror wanted to remain anonymous. In fact, she says at first she didn't even want to be seated on the jury.
I love my job. I didn't want to not be there for a long time.
Yeah.
Also, it's a huge case that everyone has really made their mind up on.
But this juror didn't, she says, until deliberations started more than a week ago after closing arguments.
Everybody in that room was very smart and very committed to telling their story and their version of the story, which more than anything led me to walk into that jury room with no opinion.
After about 2 months.
Interesting. She walked into the jury room with no opinion at all? Maybe she just felt an immense pressure and she was going to go along with the crowd. There are jurors out there like that. We know how to spot them. They're basically Play-Doh. No offense, anonymous juror, but these people are like Play-Doh. They can morph into anything, and sometimes they will go against their own beliefs. They may like want to convict, but they'll just go with the crowd. Crowd pleasers. We know exactly, as trial lawyers, we know who those jurors are, and we usually avoid them like the plague. But more than likely, like if I had a jury and I have a couple of Karens on there, and when I say Karen, I mean women who will just look mean and mean-spirited, who will convict even at the drop of a hat, like they will convict on anything. Those types of people I will strike first, because the Play-Doh jurors, you know, if I convince the leader of the pack that my client is innocent, my job is done. I don't need to convince the Play-Dohs, if you will. Once the leader of the pack is convinced, my job is done. They will convince the rest, and it'll either be a hung jury or it'll be a not guilty at that point, you know? So there's a very specific strategy to be used when you have a juror like this. This is interesting. She had no opinion. How do you not have an opinion after 8 weeks of testimony? You're just like, I don't know. That's something.
Of being on the jury together without being able to share an opinion.
I think we started making a lot more progress when I got like huge poster board paper and then worked with other members of the jury to write down the definition of every charge. At the end of the day, this was an absolute tragedy for the O'Keefe family. And
maybe, okay, I'm going to take this back a little bit. Maybe she just didn't quite understand the definition of the charges. And once she was like, okay, so what is manslaughter? It's the killing of another with, you know, negligence, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, wait a minute. She didn't do that. Oh, not guilty. That's easy. So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know. It's a complicated job. As a lawyer, once you're done with law school, you are no longer a reasonable person. That is a fact. Jurors are reasonable people. Most of you watching this are reasonable people. So it's hard. It's hard for me to judge. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. It's hard for me to judge what kind of category juror she is, but I'll be honest with you, if you, after 8 weeks, remember what Paula said. Paula said she came to the conclusion 3 weeks before the trial ended that she was 100% innocent. The foreperson from day one looked at her as if she was innocent because that's what the law requires him to do. And well, let's be honest, he's probably had some life experiences that have led him to want to empathize with her unless and until the government proves her guilty, right? For obvious reasons. Jason, he didn't really speak about it as much, but he also seemed to have been like more on the, like he believed going into the jury room that she was innocent, not guilty. So this is definitely an outlier. And we still have not heard from 8 jurors to date. As the recording of this video, only 33% of the jurors have spoken out. 4 out of 12.
And I hope that they find justice.
Well, folks, there you have it. The 4 interviews of the 4 jurors, Jason, Paula, Foreman, and anonymous juror, in one video so you can enjoy it with my commentary. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you liked what you saw. We're going to continue this train going. I have one more video in the hopper that I'm going to do, the interviews of Karen's dad and her brother, Nate, who is such a great guy. He's a really, really good person. I met him on multiple occasions, and his wife, and I'm really looking forward to moving on to the next content, because once again, as you all already know, Koberger is not going to go. Sentencing is scheduled in a couple of weeks, and he's definitely going to get 100% of what's coming his way. He's never getting out. He's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. And then we're going to find the next trial. I think it's going to be Adelson. Adelson is a doozy. Donna Adelson is going to be on trial. Her trial is scheduled to begin on August 19th, 2025, so in about 6 weeks from now. And after that, we have Brian Walsh's trial that is scheduled to begin in October. So unfortunately, July is going to be probably without a trial unless we find something. And if you guys know of anything, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to look into it. Everyone and their mother are reaching out to me right now. Larry, you should cover this, you should cover this, you should cover this. Eventually, I will find exactly what I need to cover. So once again, so you don't miss it, don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. That way you will get more of these lovely videos as we are getting closer and closer to 600,000 of you. So thank you all, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.